Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. During Worlds, Fantasy Flight revealed a bunch more cards for Covert Missions. We're just going to take a look at the cards, going to get my thoughts on them. Just to start off here with Recurring Nightmare, Blue Villain Downgrade Curse, 2 resources. This die can only be resolved against the attached character, so it's a downgrade, so it gets played on your opponent's character. I'm assuming when they activate that character, they roll this die in along with it. And then, from what I remember reading on Reddit, even though it's attached to the opponent's character, you still control the card and the die. So I think they roll it in, you could roll in your character with melee damage, and then resolve this die against that character. So the only character it can be resolved against is whoever it's attached to. So whatever opponent's character has it, it can only be resolved against them. The sides, we have 4 damage sides, so we have 1 melee, 2 melee, and 3 melee for a resource with 2 blanks. Pretty interesting card here. So they roll it in, they activate their character. Maybe there's a really good character that they have that only has like a few health left. You can maybe put this on there as kind of like a deterrent for them to even roll that character in, as they know if they roll it in, you have the option to resolve the die against that character. So we have 2 resources for 4 damage sides, one of them being resource costed. It's a curse that goes on your opponent's character. Pretty interesting card. I'm not sure if it's going to see play in like tournaments or anything, but just the concept of it is, like the flavor of it is really cool. So that is Recurring Nightmare. We're going to move into our next card. And next up we have Deathfield, blue upgrade ability, blue villain, 5 resources for 2 indirect, 3 indirect, 3 indirect, 4 indirect for a resource, 2 discard, and a special. So let's see the special. Deal 2 damage to each of an opponent's characters. So we have five damage sides, 4 indirect damage sides, one of them being resource costed, and the special. Blue character only. Exhaust this upgrade to roll this die into your pool. So you can basically roll it in, like let's say you roll the character out, you then play this on that character. You can, as an action, exhaust it to roll it in. That's right there is a really strong ability. And then again, like we were saying, 5 damage sides, one side being resource costed, but no blanks. 5 out of the 6 sides doing damage is insane. And it does cost 5, but we do see decks consistently getting out stuff like Vader's Fist and Mega Blaster Troopers fairly easily. So I don't see Deathfield being any harder to get out into play like we do see with the Mega Blaster Troopers and Vader's Fist. So 5 resources is high, but there's definitely ways to get it out faster. And then basically 5 resources for a die that has 5 damage sides. Downside being it is all indirect damage, so they can just assign that damage to characters that they don't really care about. Let's say they're playing a deck with a bunch of the characters that have no dice, they can just roll this in and kill off a bunch of those characters. But I still think 5 damage sides is really good, and the special then hits everything for 2. So that is Deathfield. We're going to move into our next card. And next up we have Anakin Skywalker, Dedicated Mentor, 13 health, 15 or 19 points. He's a leader and a Jedi. 1 melee, 2 melee, 4 melee for a resource, shield, resource, and blank. And after you activate this character, you may discard a card from your hand to move 1 shield from a character to another character. Then draw a card if you moved that shield to an apprentice character. So this version of Anakin is again 15, 19. Is designed to really be played with so Elite Anakin, Elite Ahsoka from Convergence, because I think she's like either 8 or 9, and 11 points for her Elite version. So you can run Elite Anakin, Elite Ahsoka, and then Ahsoka's ability is you have her rolled out already, and then if you roll in a Jedi, you can then resolve one of her dice, and then if the die is modified, it treats it as a unmodified die. So that's a really interesting way to roll out damage. So you roll out Ahsoka, you roll out Anakin, you can do the shield ability with him, and then resolve one of Ahsoka's dice. And then if it's a modified die, it's unmodified. The health is good. The points I think are a little bit high, 19 for this. I think for 19 it would have been better if it was like a 2-2-4 for his damage, so 2 melee, and then 4 for the resource. But the ability to move shields off of characters, and I just let's see, move one shield from a character to another character, so it doesn't care where the shield comes from. You can move shields between your characters, or you can also, it looks like you can steal shields from your opponents as well. So this is probably like the last version of Anakin before becoming Darth Vader. This is like Clone Wars, like almost Episode 3 version of Anakin. But no mention of not having Vader on your team. I don't know if that, like, if you were just doing like a weird draft where you had this version of Anakin and another, like a version of Darth Vader, because like when they did Anakin initially, the very first Darth Vader they did, aside from the one from Legacies, says, I think it was Anakin, and you couldn't have Vader on your team because it was Darth Vader, but he was still not in his robot suit. No, which one am I thinking of? I'm thinking of the draft Anakin, where it says you can't have Darth Vader on your team. But interesting with that, if they do make a Vader that fits into this point slot, you could run, I guess, feasibly in draft or some other weird format, run this Anakin and a version of Vader, because this one doesn't makes no caveat about not having Vader on the team. But that's kind of digressing a little bit. But again, 13 points, 15 or 19. 3 damage sides, and an ability to basically steal shields and potentially draw cards. So this is a pretty interesting version of Anakin. That is going to do it for this card. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Tarfful, Chieftain of Kachino. Katrina, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, 11 health, 11 or 14 points, red hero, Wookiee, and a leader. And he has 1 range, 1 melee, 2 focus, resource, and blank. And each other Wookiee character you control has +1 health, so he'll obviously be going in like maybe tribal Wookiees if that becomes a thing, or maybe it already is. I haven't really checked to see if tribal Wookiees is a thing currently. But anyway, before you resolve one of this character's dice showing damage, increases value by 1 if this character has 6 or more damage. So basically, he has an ability similar to the newer version of Chewbacca, which is, I think, his dice get increased as well if he's reached a certain damage threshold. This is really interesting because it gives other Wookiees get +1 health, and then he has the potential to instead of a one range, 1 melee, 2 melee, turning it into 2 range, 2 melee, 3 melee. So the more damage he takes, or at least if he has 6 or more damage, he does more damage, kind of similar to the Chewbacca. So he can be interesting. Again, that is Tarfful. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Fortitude. 2 resources. Red hero upgrade ability. Attached character has +3 health or +4 health instead if it's a Wookiee. This is pretty insane. So for 2 resources, you're getting at least 3 health or 4 health if it's a Wookiee. You couple that with Tarfful and Chewbacca's ability to basically increase the value of their dice. I think Chewbacca increases. Let me check Chewbacca really quick. Chewbacca, before you resolve one of this character's character dice showing damage. Okay, so both Tarfful and Chewbacca have the ability to increase damage. They don't increase out their other sides, but just damage. So, and that's basically if they have 6 or more damage. This gives them more health, more survivability, and then let's say Chewbacca has taken 6 damage. He has 13 health, so he has 7 health left. And then if you play this on him, he actually has 11 health remaining. That's just kind of insane. So 2 resources, again, gets you either 3 health on any other character or +4 if it's a Wookiee. So then definitely going to go into decks running like tribal Wookiees, that kind of thing. So that is Fortitude. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Sinjir Rath Velus, ex-loyalty officer. 12 health, yellow hero, 14 or 17 points. He's a scoundrel. 2 melee damage, 2 indirect, discard, shield, resource, and blank. After you resolve one of this character's character dice, you may place a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck to remove a die showing the same symbol as that die. So basically, if he resolves melee, he can put a card on the bottom of the deck to remove a die showing melee. If you do it, you do that with, let's see how many symbols he has. He has 5 different symbols, so he has melee, indirect, discard, shield, and resource. That's a kind of an interesting ability, and I also do like that it is kind of like an anti-mill strategy as well. So basically, after you resolve it, you can place a card on the bottom of your deck, and then removing a die showing the matching symbol. The 12 health is good. My biggest problem with this card, though, is the cost. 17 points for... Like, he only has 2 damage sides. If he had 1 more damage side, like maybe say like range damage or something like that, I think it would be a little bit more interesting, but I think 17 might be a little bit too high. I was thinking maybe like the top would be maybe 15 for Elite, maybe 14. I'm not really sure. Again, this is a character I believe is from the Aftermath trilogy. I haven't read the Aftermath trilogy, so I'm not exactly sure like who his character is or what he does. I just remember doing a quick search on him and to see where he was from, and he's from the trilogy after Return of the Jedi, kind of leading into, and some of the stuff carries into the or the sequel trilogy with Force Awakens. But again, 2 damage sides, some utility sides with discard, shield, and resource. I think his ability is cool, where you can you can put the card on the bottom, prevent getting milled, and remove a die. I think that's cool. I think his points are just a little bit too high. But that is Sinjir. We're going to move into our next card. And next up, we have Valorous Tribe, Gray Hero plot, 3 points. As an action, exhaust this plot to move up to 2 damage from a character to a character you control. Then you may spot a Wookiee to heal 1 damage from a character. So I think this is definitely going to work with Tarfful and Chewbacca. That's, I think, the main aim here, is you can move damage between your characters to put it on those 2 characters, so you make sure that they have at least 6 damage on them, so you trigger their increased damage. Another interesting thing is that you can take damage off of your opponent's characters to put on Tarfful or Chewbacca as well, to kind of make sure that they have that ability kind of online and ready to go. So it may be worthwhile to actually, as a kind of heal your opponent's characters, so you have characters that have increased damage once they hit a certain damage threshold to use that ability. So it might be worth it to heal them, so your characters, those characters do more damage. And then you can also heal damage from other characters as well. So you can move 2 damage to say like Tarfful, and then obviously spot him or Chewbacca or any other Wookiee to then heal 1 of those damage. So let's say Tarfful's at 5, you can move 2 damage to him, spot him, and heal 1 of those damage, and he would still be at his 6 damage minimum required for that increased damage resolution if he has that much damage on him. So that is Valorous Tribe. I think it's going to be a very interesting card. I think it's going to work with those Wookiees really well. It's going to be interesting to see if people actually run this and pull damage off their opponents as well. So that is Valorous Tribe. We're going to move into our next card. And last card here, we have Shayan Mastery. 4 resources. It's an upgrade ability lightsaber form. Neutral blue, so it works on both heroes and villains. 3 melee, 2 shield, 2 resources, 2 specials. Blue character only, limit 1 form per character. And after you play this upgrade, you may roll this die into your pool, so it gets rolled out right away. And the specials deal 2 damage to a character. You may remove a die showing damage. So you get to hit something for 2 and remove a die, and you have 2 of those specials on this die. So no blanks, essentially 3 damage sides. So you have the 3 melee, basically a 3 melee and a 2 damage each from the special. So you have total for 3 damage sides here. You have, again, 2 shield sides, a resource side. Minimum stuff on here is 2, so everything, it's going to be either basically 3 damage, 2 shield, 2 resource, or those specials, which are also going to do 2 damage each to 2 damage to a character, as well as remove a die. I imagine there's going to be ways to get this out for less. Like, I think the other sets had forms that would, you could basically, like, they had, like, it would be like something training and then something mastery. I wonder if they're going to do the same with this. So to get it out for a little bit less. So that is Shayan Mastery. That's our last card. Again, we'll do more spoiler videos and when more and more cards get revealed. The set did get delayed until, I believe, at least the first quarter of next year. So hopefully soon we'll get more and more characters and more cards that we can take a look at. Once those become available, I'll definitely make videos for them. So make sure you're subscribed to check that out. That's going to do it for now. Just remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching.